Hello, Twins fans. Welcome back to another episode of From Lee to Limestone. I'm Matt Lenz with Twins Daily, and today I want to look at the FanGraphs recent releasing of the Twins' top 36 prospects. And this actually has really good timing with my last video, which was just giving credit to the Twins front office for the recent youth movement that we've experienced over the last 2 or 3 seasons. Because the FanGraphs list, of course, now looks at prospects that they're going to be part of maybe future youth movements for the Minnesota Twins. And of course, all of these guys would be credited to the Twins' current front office, no matter what happens within the next few years. And so first, I just want to start by looking at just the top 5 names, 3 of which are in the top 100. Of course, first we start with Brooks Lee, 19 overall in all of baseball on the top 100 list. Royce Lewis comes in at 55, and then Edouard Julien comes in at 75. Those are your top 100 prospects. That list was released in the preseason, and based off some of the remarks that they made in the review of these top 5 prospects, I actually think that if they redid that top 100 list now, that all 5 of these names would actually make that list. Number 4, not on the top 100 list as of the preseason, might be now, is Louis Varland. And by the time that they redo their their top 100 list, Louis Varland probably will have lost his prospect status. He has been doing phenomenal for the Twins. There is a need for starting pitching at the major league level, so I don't see him going back to St. Paul anytime soon. And he's got to be very close to that 50-inning threshold for pitchers to lose that prospect status. Number 5 on the list, David Festa. And even in the write-up itself, FanGraphs acknowledges that if David Festa continues doing what he did in 2022, which he has been, he could very easily be a top 100 guy. And so again, I think that's a name that might show up on that next top 100 list whenever they update that in the future, giving the Twins 5 top 100 guys, 2 of which are pitchers. Now again, I'm kind of assuming if Festa made that list, Varland would also make the list. But again, he's going to lose his prospect status very soon here. So those are the top 5 names. Again, two pitchers in the top 5. Great to hear, great to see, because you can never have enough pitching. I think this year has shown that especially to be true. Some other notable names. 2022 second-round pick Connor Prelip came in at number 10. And the reason why that's notable for me, other than the fact that he's their second-round pick from last year, is that obviously with the release of this list, he's already dealing with arm injuries, which is why he fell out of the first round. He's considered a huge risk when he was drafted. And so FanGraphs is still fairly high on him, considering that he's already dealing with those injuries that scared a lot of other teams off. So just kind of interesting that he comes in as high as number 10 on the list. The players that we received in the Jose Barrios trade, Austin Martin and Simeon Woods Richardson comes in at 9 and 11 respectively. And interesting to point out that they're actually still pretty high on Austin Martin. There's been a lot made about the struggles that he's had in his time with the Twins. They don't see him reaching the expectations of maybe most number 5 picks, but they still see him being a very productive, utility type player, which is kind of what he's been in AA. He's played center field, he's played all around the infield. And so, he might be a little bit better of a version of Nick Gordon, as an example. Maybe with a little bit better bat, or maybe he becomes what Nick Gordon is. That's obviously remained to be seen. This is all just based off projection, but just pointing out that for all the kind of bad and negative news that we've had on Austin Martin, FanGraphs is actually still fairly high on him. And then, of course, the Arise trade, where Pablo Lopez was the headliner for that trade, but the Twins did a really good job where they also were able to get Jose Salas and Byron Churio, who come in at 12 and 21 respectively. So again, just another trade where we not only got a major league caliber talent. Yes, he's been struggling lately, but he regardless is still one of our top 5 options in the organization for a starting pitcher. But they were also able to get 2 very solid prospects who could really flourish into, again, just productive players, even if it's a role player. As I said in my last video, having a prospect reach the major league level and be a little bit productive at the major league level, that's success in itself with how hard it is to identify and develop that talent. So again, just a really good trade, no matter what you think of Luis Arraez and how much you might miss him and fan favorite and all that. Just a really good trade for the Minnesota Twins, a win for both teams in that case. So who are the biggest risers and fallers if we look at the FanGraphs list from last year compared to this year? So Festa is the biggest riser, up 29 spots. Louis Varland right behind him at 25 spots. Both of those guys just had a phenomenal 2022, continue having phenomenal seasons in 2023, and then keep skyrocketing up those rankings. You can probably guess who else who fell hard in these rankings. Jordan Balazovic, a rough 2022, got into some sort of skirmish during spring training, hasn't been great in 2023, and so he dropped 29 spots. In fact, him and Festa just kind of more or less just swapped spots on that list. And then Keone Cavaco fell 20-plus spots. He was ranked 17 last year. This year, he's not even ranked. He wasn't even mentioned in the... They always add extra comments at the end about some other guys. He wasn't even mentioned there. So he's kind of completely off the radar, at least from FanGraphs' perspective. But one last thing I want to end with, which, again, just kind of really builds off of my last video, is just giving this front office credit. 5 of the top 11 prospects in our organizations is pitching. And again, that's the hardest thing to identify. That's the hardest thing to develop. And it's the most valuable asset that you can have. So again, just want to give more kudos to our front office for being able to develop that pitching talent. And that doesn't even include, guys like Ober and Joe Ryan, who are already at the major league level and competing and producing. So that's the FanGraphs list of top 36, kind of building off my last video. What are your thoughts on the front office? For all the frustrations that we have at the major league level, whether it's because the offense isn't producing or they're all in on home runs and strikeouts or the bullpen, whatever, overall, I have to say they're doing a good job. Let me know what you think in the comments on Twitter at Lenzy2108 or on YouTube from Musings from Twins Territory.